uh, yeah, and we just want to give a special shout out to Tinder, which is one of our partners. Ooh, could you do the, oh, yeah, there we go, awesome. Yeah, and we're really excited, especially because Tinder is one of those dating apps where you don't think of dating safety when it comes to mind, or at least I didn't when I first started using Tinder. But this is really important. All right, and then we're just going to get started. If you will put to the next slide, please. This is going to be the agenda for today's webinar, just a kind of overview. I'm going to talk about the organization itself first, just kind of where our focus, our educational materials, and then we will save questions for the end. So it'll be kind of overview of the organization, the physical workshop itself, and then questions. All right, next one, please. Okay, this is a little overview of the organization. It's on Us. I am so passionate about It's on Us. I've been working with them for about 4 years now, and it's been really incredible. I loved it every single year. Next slide, please. Yeah, it started in 2014 in the Obama-Biden White House as a recommendation to protect students from campus sexual assault. And as of today, we have over 500 plus chapters. It's been a long time coming. It went from the campaign to the actual programming. We kind of got it to campuses, we got it indoors with students, and it's been a very awesome, fluid experience thus far. Next, please. We're going to start with the programming because we originally started as taking a pledge, but since we have moved from that and moving to more active intervention, we are now doing our programming pieces. And if you skip to the next slide, it'll be an overview. One of our big things is to create in-house resources, something that is not hierarchical. It was just very all of us together. Our goal is to kind of combat anything that's too expensive, language that isn't student-friendly and accessible and inclusive, and not adaptable to different campuses. We want this programming and this information to be as streamlined and as applicable to everyone, because everyone can make a difference in this campaign and for this cause. Students know what we need. I'm still in college right now, you know, and from my experiences talking to peers, talking to other survivors, talking to, you know, other educators through this organization, I've gotten a better idea of what programming and actual programming that will sink in, you know, that'll actually get to people. Yeah, all right. And then we also just want to train student leaders. That's a big thing for us. We really want to promote the idea and promote the cause that anyone can do this. Anyone can become an expert. Anyone can really talk about these topics because they're applicable to everyone. And here is just the process of what we did to sort of create the workshops and materials that we're going to be sharing with you today. It's very much, you know, we conducted wide analysis, we talked to a bunch of students about what they and we need to see. And the components that were the most popular were community engagement, bystander intervention, and schools response. And in accordance to that, we created our 3 pillars, which are survivor support, bystander intervention, and sexual assault awareness. And so all of our programming falls under those 3 key pillars. Could you do the next slide, please? Yeah, and these are where our gaps right now. This is kind of more streamlined and more specific groups within universities. So national LGBT roundtable reports, national campus conduct roundtable, you know, and HBCU stories. So those are key groups and key groups of people that would benefit from specialized training and specialized workshops that speak their language, you know, like really, we want to reach as many people as possible. And that means tapping into these key groups. Like I'm the Greek Life Regional Advisor at Large because I'm a member of a sorority. I'm a member of Kappa Delta at the University of North Texas, and that has really shaped my experience within It's on Us and within this organization and having these materials and sharing workshops with specific groups. Like I'm not going to lead the same workshop I am for the general UNT population versus a specific fraternity or specific sorority. Yeah, and that's just an example of some of our different programming. Could you do the next slide, please? And this is just, we also have a bunch of really great facilitation guides, because like I said before, we want anyone to understand they can do this. They can be a facilitator, because it's all about starting that conversation and having that conversation. And we offer a bunch of really great guidelines to streamline that, to kind of gear in the best way from our research and from our studies, the most inclusive and accepting and just kind of overall open way that we can to have this hard conversation. Next slide, please. So now we're going to get into the actual workshop itself. That was a lot. There's a lot that goes into It's on Us, the training, the workshops, anything you see, any material that you see or learn today has been carefully cultivated, and we are really excited about it. And it's also, as I said before, we're sponsored by Tinder. Next slide, please. So this is just an overview. You know, we're going to do some introductions. We're going to kind of, I don't know how many people are in, but we're just going to go around, meet everyone. We're going to talk about dating in 2021, especially right now. Oh my gosh, I know I've used it a lot this past year, let's just say. And then we're just going to talk about dating violence and online dating violence specifically, and some safety tips. All right, would you do the next slide, please? Awesome. All right, so let's just go around and do some introductions. Will you say, if you feel comfortable, that also at any point, if you feel comfortable, if you don't feel comfortable speaking, if you just want to type it in the chat, that's totally fine. That's because we are going to be talking about sensitive topics, and it's completely understandable. Yeah, your name, your pronouns, yeah, and where you're from. I'm so excited to be part of the National Summit. I wish we could do it in person, but having it virtual and having it national really makes it accessible to a lot more people. And that makes me really happy. I am so grateful and so happy to see each one of you here. All right, yeah, and if you feel comfortable, pop it in the chat, but if not, that's totally fine. Just as a reiteration, my name is Claire. My pronouns are she, her, and I'm in Denton, Texas right now. I go to the University of North Texas. All right. Oh, a couple of people are in the waiting room. Awesome, awesome. For the people that just came in, oh, hey Jenna, nice to meet you. Indiana, that's awesome. That's really cool. I had a friend from Indiana. Right. Anyone else? If not, that's totally fine. You can definitely, ooh, Stephanie, hey, nice to meet you. Idaho State, awesome. Hi, Bianca. Kalamazoo, that's really cool. I've heard of Kalamazoo. It's a very, oh, hey Samantha. Awesome, awesome. Yes, definitely. I know I met a few people at the last summit in 2019 that were from Pennsylvania and started chapters at in universities in Pennsylvania. Hey Susan. Sonoma State, very cool, very cool. Thanks y'all for typing in the chat and kind of, have the conversation. Awesome. Okay, cool. Just to keep the ball rolling, I'm going to get started with the meat of the presentation, but please feel free, type anything you want in the chat, your introductions, questions. We're going to talk through questions. I'll check it at the end where we have the allotted time for questions. All right, will you get next slide, please? Okay, dating is hard right now. Dating, especially as a single woman myself, dating is kind of tough, especially due to lockdown and safety. And so online dating is one of the most accessible ways, especially with all the new features coming out, video chatting. There are many ways that these dating apps are becoming more and more accessible to more users. Next slide, please. Yeah, just a little background, about 30% of adults in the US use a dating app or website. It really is one of the most popular ways to meet. Because remember, back in the day, it was like you could meet people online, it was creepy or it was weird to meet people online. But nowadays, everyone I see, my sister met her boyfriend from Hinge, like everyone, a lot of my friends have kind of met their partners from Hinge or Tinder or Bumble. So it's really become destigmatized and it's really popularized, which also makes it a not a perfect vehicle, but where there is dating, there is always going to be dating violence and people who take advantage of that. Next slide, please. Yeah, it's like I said before, it removes any traditional barriers. You can connect with a lot more people from farther distances. And it's very important to talk to someone first, kind of get the basics because you aren't meeting in person. It's very important to talk to them and learn more about them, and make sure they're a real person, like the early 2000s show Catfish. That's still a very real thing. All right, we do the next slide, please. All right, what is dating violence? Dating violence, definitely, like I said earlier, online dating apps are a vehicle for it. Next slide, please. It's a series of abusive behaviors. And in order to talk about online dating safety, we really need to identify violence and how to identify it. It's a series of abusive behaviors that occur over a course of time used to exert power and control over a dating partner. There are so many forms. When I read the statistic that 90% of people who experience dating violence experience financial abuse, that's a really important statistic because it's so real and it's so, I can't tell you how many times that, in other materials, I didn't see it even listed, I didn't see it talked about, but financial abuse is a serious issue and a serious limitation. It's definitely one of the main ways to control someone these days. Next slide, please. These are some of the warning signs. If we were in person, I would have a sheet that you could take home that you could make notes on, but these are sort of some of the key factors, constant belittling or put downs, false accusations, possessiveness, and these can be seen in both IRL, in-person dating as well as online dating. And if you experience any of these, please call the number, visit the website. This is extremely important to identify and hopefully prevent so people can, give proper credit. And if you need to take a picture of this slide, this presentation is going to be recorded. Please feel free. This is really important information and it could really help someone. Next slide, please. Now we're going to get into the specifics of online dating violence. This can be, because everything nowadays is digital, it's online, there's so many more aspects of our personal lives that can be manipulated through an online platform. Next slide, please. Online dating violence can be verbal, emotional, digital, an increase in social media stalking, that it's like, oh, I cyber stalked you. It's the normalization of those things it's just as valid online as it is IRL. And a lot of people don't realize that. A lot of people don't take into account that it definitely over 60% of female users specifically say that someone continued to message them. That is violent behavior. That is not okay. That's crossing someone's boundaries, whether they be digital or physical, there's still boundaries. Yeah, 57, reports being sent a sexually explicit message or image they didn't ask for. That definitely, it's like, I feel like you always see the image of the person in the trench coat, at the corner, like this is the 2021 version of that, and it's not okay. Next slide, please. Here are some tips that are going to help you stay safe while dating online. This is something to try to, avoid those kinds of people, avoids those tips and tricks, because online dating is awesome and can be awesome if you are able to do it safely. Next slide, please. Also, the biggest thing when you are talking to someone online is to never give out your personal information. Never give out phone number, social security number, financial information. I don't know, it's like, hi, my name is Claire, my sign, I'm a Leo, and here's my social security number. I kid, but in all seriousness, that's no credit card numbers, no nothing, because they can use it against you. They can find you. And then take your time when you're moving conversation off of the app. Stick to within the app, get to know them, Oftentimes apps these days are offering video chat features, So you can have a FaceTime date right there. You can have a FaceTime date, and even something that they've done, especially with Tinder and Bumble, and I think Hinge now too, they have photo verification. So that helps to prevent catfishing. So say, because someone can easily use your picture and pretend to be you. And so if someone might be using someone else's picture. And so that photo verification helps to use the technology and use the camera to make sure that that person that you're talking to is the person they say they are. Because, you know, locations, personal info, transportation, especially. Now on the physical date itself, you need to have your own transportation. Do not let them or be in close contact, be in control of that, because that is an area where it could turn ugly. Pickup time, drop-off time, all of the aspects of transportation. Do the next slide, please. Yeah, and let someone know where you are. Like text a friend, you know, make sure a few of my friends have my location. Make sure someone has your location. They could check in on you, be like, hey, if I don't reply, you know, it's going well, but please could you check in at, you know, 4 p.m. today. And yeah, and make sure the person is who they say they are. That's Google searches are key. LinkedIn, you know, I always, I check to see. I feel like LinkedIn sometimes is the most assured way if they're more of a professional or older person, but they're also, you know, Facebook, Instagram, all sorts of things. Anything, the more you can find, the more likely it is they are who they say they are. And it's good. Hopefully they're who they say they are. Yeah, and like I said earlier, the Skype, FaceTime call, Zoom date, you know, those are really popular during the height of quarantine, but they really make sure that you know you're talking to who you're saying you're talking to. Yeah, and it's safer if you still have doubts or if you're kind of feeling weird, don't go. Or go with a friend, like in a group date, because it's always better to be safe than sorry. There are a lot of, even today, boogeymen on the internet. Next slide, please. Consent. It is definitely important that you understand that every person has their own boundaries and expectations. Communication at all times is key. Communication doesn't always have to be verbal, but verbally agreeing to sexual activities is the best way you can respect you and your partner's boundaries. And then consent is the permission that is or is not given. Consent is the permission that is or is not given for something, any even sexual activity, to happen. And also definitions differ in different states, but remember, if you're uncomfortable, if you feel any sort of way, you must always be comfortable and willing and ready to engage in an activity. Because if it's not a hell yes, then it's a no. Because you should do things that you're really into and you're really excited about. And it's enthusiastic and it's fun. Great sex is fun. Consensual sex is awesome. It should be the only kind of sex. It is the only kind of sex. Anyway, next slide, please. Yeah, this is really awesome. I love the fries analogy because it's easy to remember. Freely given, reversible, informed, enthusiastic, and specific. There is nothing cooler and awesome than someone who knows exactly what they want to do and how you want them to do it, and are very clear of their boundaries and very clear of what they want and what they don't like. And as always, if someone is under the influence, they cannot consent, period. Drugs, alcohol, they can't. And you always have the right to say no. Consent is reversible at any point in time, as well as a yes once doesn't mean ongoing yes. So you need to keep on checking in, you need to keep on making sure that there is continued consent. And then also on the flip side of that, a lack of a no is not consent either. It has to be a hell yes, because there are going to be those times that are hell yeses, and those are going to be awesome and the best memories and the best experiences. Next slide, please. Giving consent. If you do not feel comfortable engaging in any type of activity, you do not have to, and no one has the right to pressure you into it. No one has the right to coerce you, oh, please, like, oh my gosh, I wish, like, come on, you can do it. No, none of that, none of that. Because someone who actually cares about you and wants to be with you and wants to be anyone in their right mind, I'd like to say, ideally, would want to be with a consenting partner, and a partner who's enthusiastic and who wants to do what they're doing. And also, like we said before, the legal definition differs from state. All right. Oh, I think we go back. Yes. Okay. Protection also as well. So not all STIs show symptoms. Get tested regularly, have that conversation. It is, people make it out to be an uncomfortable conversation, but it doesn't have to be. Going to the testing center could be a date, that'd be cute, that'd be fun, that'd be a sure way to know. And just remember that STIs like herpes or HPV can be passed through skin-to-skin contact. So there are it depends on each different infection, but you need to be careful and you need to stay safe, make sure you're safe and protected. Next slide. All right, so dates not really going well. I have been on far too many bad Tinder dates to count, and I have definitely used some of these excuses. Not really excuses, these methods to escape from the date. So you set an exit plan ahead of time. Be like, hey, I have to pick up my friend from the airport at 2 p.m., so I have to leave by this exact time. And in the moment, if you feel safe, you can leave. You can always leave, but here are some examples to kind of facilitate the conversation. It's, I have a really bad stomach ache. My roommate is locked out of our apartment. That happened to me a couple times, actually, in real life. But it's genuine and it's things that can happen. So if you don't feel comfortable, because a lot of us don't, be like, I don't know if I could look someone dead in the face, be like, hey, this isn't going well, so I'm just gonna leave. And so certain things like these, they can get you out of the situation in the way that you're most comfortable. Yeah, and then if you see someone so that's perfect. If you're in a public space, which you should be if it's a first date, you see them like, oh my God, hey, so-and-so, I haven't seen you in so long. Spark up a conversation with them, easy exit, easy out of there. Or join them, flag them down, be like, hey, please come join us. There are many ways that you can leave a situation because shouldn't be doing anything you're not comfortable with. And that includes spending time with someone. Next slide, please. Even this morning, I saw a TikTok about a reenactment of someone ordering an angel shot. This is the coolest thing. I really love that bars and bartenders are doing this nowadays. And so what it is, you go up, like it says in the flyer, you go up, you order an angel shot, and there are different ways. You can get it done, with lime, neat, well-dressed, and they indicate certain issues. So if police need to get involved, it's angel shot with lime. If you need someone to stay with you, it's angel shot neat. And if you need someone to call Uber, Lyft, taxi, I think it's angel shot with salt. But the point is they have many different forms of this, and they also keep them, they keep these flyers in bathrooms, in stalls, and they instruct you about how to flag waitstaff down. And it can be done in a really casual, comfortable way. That way you don't feel uncomfortable or even weird asking a bartender for help, if need be. Next slide, please. Yes, ghosting, especially in the digital world, is very, very common, very common. And like, Ramani, should I stay or should I go? That's level. I'm sure they're a lovely psychologist, but it's very true. Just kind of focusing on that quote. Next slide, please. Okay, this, I'm pretty sure, I know it's a pretty long screenshot, but it goes pretty in depth about an example of how to apologize, how to not ghost, just kind of let someone down easy, be like, hey, this is what's going on in my life. I don't know. I don't think I'm ready to have this relationship, or I just don't want to see you in that way. But it's really hard to type this. I know it's really hard to assert these boundaries in a very like clear and expressive way. You need to do what's right for you. And if this isn't, and if this is someone you've met up with maybe once, not even met up with, just texted online, texted on the app, then it's all about your level of comfortability. So it's comfortability and make sure to be respectful. So if you don't feel comfortable, if you don't feel it's possible to reach them, it's okay to ghost. It's okay. It's not preferable, I guess, in society's aspects, but it is totally okay and valid because you do what you are comfortable with doing. This is awesome, and I have had responses like this to me, but I also, no response is a response. And that is, I don't want to do this anymore. So it's a hot topic. It's a, you know, but it's bottom line, whatever you're comfortable with. Next slide, please. All right, okay, so we're gonna do an activity. We're gonna split you guys up into breakout rooms, and I'm really excited. Will you flip to the next slide? We're just gonna, the partner will be breakout rooms and take 5 minutes to share 2 examples of your kind of exit strategies. Like, oh, one time someone told me that their cat started profusely vomiting and they had to go home. So you can be funny, you can get creative. There are so many different ways to get out of a date or get out of a situation you're not comfortable with. All right. So if we will go ahead, I think, awesome. All right. See y'all in a few minutes.
Marcia, Sherry, if you're interested in joining your breakout rooms, I recommend doing that now. Hey, Claire, everybody's going to come back shortly. You're doing great, by the way.
Oh, awesome. Thank you. Uh, excited. I'm excited to hear what everyone came up with, because there are many ways. There are many ways to do this. It's very exciting. Okay, is this, I want to make sure everyone comes back in.
Everyone's back.
Oh, awesome. Okay, cool. All right, so I don't know if there's like a share slide. Is there a share slide? Or we can stay on the slide just to talk about it. Oh, yeah, well, questions, sharing. Does anyone want to share what y'all talked about? You can say it, type it in the chat, whatever you feel comfortable with. There's some very cool ways. And also just, oh, I forgot my laundry was in the dryer. I've actually done that, especially it's worrisome because I live with communal laundry. So some people might take my laundry. So that's a very good reason to get home. But I mean, if y'all want to pop it in the chat later, that's totally fine too. We're just the next section is just gonna be us sort of talking, having a conversation if you have any questions. But, having your laundry, all my laundry's in the dryer, gotta go. And then, a second example could be, my mom just fell. I have to go take her to the hospital. It's a little morbid, but the first one I could come up with. Okay, will you flip to the next slide, please, Adriana? And feel free if at any point type in the chat. But does anyone have any questions? Anything you want to talk about? I wanted to kind of talk about this in this sort of section too. These Tinder, especially, I haven't noticed it too much on Bumble, but Tinder actually has consent quizzes now, which is super cool. You go under the Noonlight and the safety features. They even have one of those apps. I forget if, oh, yes, please. If you have any questions, email Adriana. We will happily get back to you. But Noonlight and in-app safety features are really, really kicking off. And they're really cool and fun. And it's actually applicable. I can tell they've done their research. I can tell they've used questions and used scenarios on the quiz that are real life scenarios. And it's nice. It doesn't feel cheesy. And you can also do, they have Tinder University. I know it's on us. Like we had when we first announced our partnership with Tinder, we had a big deal about Tinder University. We're going to different campuses. And we still are planning to hopefully do that in the future, by the way. But you can get verified if you submit a college email. So you can get your little college banner. It's like a banner or a sticker on your picture. And it's just another way that people can know that your profile is really you. And you can actually meet some cool people, because dating apps are fun. I love dating apps. Does anyone have any comments or questions or, anyone, if you have your, think of your favorite dating app? But yeah, bottom line, have fun and be safe. And if you experience or know anyone who has experienced dating violence, please call the hotline because it is a very serious issue and it's really important and you could save someone's life. All right, next slide, please. Yeah, dating apps, like I said earlier about the quizzes, updated resources, fun things. They have Noonlight, which is an app. I don't know if it's the one where you hold your finger down. You have to hold your finger down for a certain amount of time and they don't call the police. I need to investigate that myself, but it's a really cool safety feature. And all the different apps are using them too, like Bumble, Hinge, so many safety features. And they're really cool. And it's awesome to see them sort of getting it, like getting with the times, understanding that we as a community and we as a society aren't taking this anymore. This is not okay. This is not okay. And the best sex and the best dates are enthusiastic and super fun. So, all right, next slide, please. Yeah, and that's the end of the workshop. Thank y'all so much for being here and participating and introducing yourselves. It's been really fun. And if you have any questions at all, email Adriana, that email that she dropped in the chat. And yeah, awesome, thank y'all. Have a great rest of your day, okay? Bye, y'all.